What if reality is not fragmented at all? What if wholeness hides behind every moment? Science dissects pieces, spirit whispers of unity. Bohm asked, are we seeing only shadows? Beneath the surface, a deeper order unfolds. The explicate order, what we touch and measure. The implicate order, what holds it together. Every atom contains echoes of the whole. Every thought ripples through the fabric of reality. Separation is illusion, connection is the truth. A hologram. Each fragment holds the entire picture. A universe folding and unfolding like breathing light. Mind and matter, two faces of one process. Consciousness and cosmos woven in a single dance. The Holomovement never stops. It flows eternally. Dialogue is not words, but shared meaning. Wholeness speaks when we silence the noise. Fragmentation births conflict. Wholeness births peace. Science without spirit is blind. Spirit without science, incomplete. Together, they reveal the order beneath chaos. This is Bohm's vision, reality as undivided. Welcome to the Implicate Order of existence. Stay with us until the end. What you're about to discover will transform how you see reality itself. And if you want more journeys into the depths of wholeness, subscribe now, hit the bell, and give this video a like so you don't miss what comes next. Human thought often divides reality into categories, separating what is deeply interconnected. In modern science, this fragmentation is seen in disciplines isolated from each other. Physics apart from biology, psychology apart from sociology. Bohm argued that such divisions, while useful for analysis, distort the living unity of existence. He believed that only by perceiving beyond these artificial boundaries could truth be approached in its wholeness. Society mirrors this fragmentation. Politics, economics, culture, and spirituality are treated as separate realms, each pursuing its own agenda. The result is conflict, competition, and confusion, where the deeper coherence of human life is overlooked. Bohm suggested that this disconnection is not natural, but a product of limited modes of thought. When people act from separation, they lose sight of the harmony that underlies human existence. In the scientific world, reductionism has reinforced fragmentation. Atoms are studied apart from fields, the brain apart from consciousness, individuals apart from the environment. This analytical lens has produced powerful technologies, yet it often blinds us to the holistic fabric in which all phenomena are embedded. Science, Bohm argued, must evolve from mere analysis toward integration if it is to serve humanity. Fragmented thinking shapes identity itself. We speak of personal life, professional life, and spiritual life as though they are separate domains. Bohm emphasized that this mental compartmentalization creates inner conflict, one self striving against another, when in truth there is only one living process. The illusion of multiple selves leaves individuals divided within, unable to experience inner peace. The fragmentation of thought has also fractured human relationships. Nations defend boundaries as if the earth were not a shared organism. Religions divide over words while pointing to similar truths. Families break under the weight of competing expectations. Bohm warned that such divisions, left unchecked, fuel violence and alienation. He insisted that healing begins when we recognize humanity as one undivided whole. Even language reflects fragmentation. Words label and categorize, cutting the flow of experience into static pieces. We say mind and body as though they were separate entities, or nature and human, as if humanity were not part of the biosphere. These linguistic habits shape thought and reinforce separation. To Bohm, language must evolve to express connection rather than division. Technology amplifies fragmentation when it develops without wisdom. Tools of communication promise connection, yet often isolate individuals in curated bubbles. Weapons of war magnify divisions rather than dissolving them. Bohm insisted that without a holistic vision, technological progress risks deepening humanity's fragmentation. True progress must include both innovation and the wisdom to integrate it into life. Education, too, suffers from compartmentalization. Children learn mathematics, literature, and science as separate subjects, rarely encouraged to see their interconnection. This trains the mind to think in fragments, producing specialists without vision of the whole. Bohm believed that true learning requires integration across disciplines. Education, he said, should awaken perception of unity, not reinforce division. The environment bears the cost of fragmentation. Forests are reduced to resources, rivers to commodities, climate to numbers in reports. By separating economy from ecology, society exploits the planet as if human survival were not entangled with the Earth's health. Bohm saw this as a dangerous illusion. When Earth is treated as separate from us, destruction becomes inevitable. Fragmentation fuels psychological suffering. When thought isolates itself from emotion or body from mind, individuals feel torn apart. Anxiety and depression grow when people experience life as broken into incompatible pieces. Bohm pointed to wholeness not as abstraction, but as a healing necessity. Integration of thought, feeling, and body restores balance to human life. In global affairs, fragmentation manifests as nationalism. Borders, flags, and rivalries dominate collective identity, obscuring the fact that humanity shares one fragile planet. For Bohm, nationalism was one of the clearest signs of fragmented thought made concrete, producing endless cycles of conflict. Only by transcending national identities can true global peace emerge. At its core, fragmentation is a trick of perception. Thought convinces itself that the divisions it creates are real, when in fact they are conceptual tools. Bohm urged that until humanity sees this illusion, chaos will persist. Wholeness, he said, is not something to be built. It is already present, waiting to be recognized. To realize this is to step into a radically new vision of life. Bohm distinguished between two dimensions of reality: the explicate order, which is the visible and measurable world, and the implicate order, a deeper realm in which everything is enfolded into everything else. The explicate order is what human senses and instruments can detect, but it is only the tip of the iceberg. Beneath appearances lies an unseen coherence that sustains the whole of existence. For Bohm, what we perceive as reality is just a surface expression of a far richer and hidden order. The explicate order appears as the world of objects, forms, and separations. A table stands apart from a chair, a star apart from a planet, a person apart from another person. Yet Bohm emphasized that this visible world is like the ripples on an ocean, temporary shapes on the surface. The implicate order is the ocean itself, holding infinite potential and enfolding all visible structures within it. To focus only on the explicate is to mistake the waves for the water. In the implicate order, every part contains the whole. Bohm often compared it to a hologram, where each fragment of the plate reveals the entire image when illuminated. Likewise, every particle of the universe carries within it the echoes of the cosmos. This vision dissolves the illusion of separateness and invites us to perceive unity in diversity. What seems isolated is in truth inseparable from the whole fabric of existence. The explicate order moves in linear time, tied to cause and effect, to past, present, and future. Events seem to follow one another like beads on a string. The implicate order, however, is timeless, an enfolded dimension where the whole of time exists at once, like layers of meaning coiled within each other. When an event unfolds, it is not created from nothing, but revealed from what was already unfolded. In this sense, time itself is a projection rather than ultimate reality. To illustrate, Bohm used the metaphor of a flowing stream. On the surface, waves, swirls, and eddies appear as distinct entities. This is the explicate order. But beneath, the whole river moves as a single process, carrying invisible currents and patterns. This is the implicate order. What seems separate is only an unfolding of the same continuous motion. Reality, therefore, is not a collection of things, but a seamless movement in which parts are abstractions of the whole. Science has traditionally focused on the explicate order, dissecting nature into smaller and smaller parts, atoms, molecules, neurons, societies. This has produced extraordinary knowledge and technologies, but Bohm warned that such reductionism blinds us to the larger patterns. Without awareness of the implicate order, science risks treating symptoms while missing their underlying coherence. Integration of both levels, analysis and wholeness, is essential if science is to serve truth. Consciousness itself reveals the implicate order. Thoughts and memories do not vanish when they are not active. They remain enfolded, hidden but present, waiting to unfold in words and actions. Just as the mind holds unspoken potentials, reality holds enfolded possibilities. For Bohm, mind and matter were not separate realms, but different expressions of one underlying process. The implicate order is the bridge where inner and outer meet as one. In art and music, the implicate order becomes tangible. A symphony is not just individual notes, but the enfolded memory of past sounds and the anticipation of future ones, all resonating together. A painting, too, carries hidden resonances that shape how we see, beyond what is explicitly painted. Art makes visible the invisible, unfolding hidden patterns into form. The implicate order animates beauty, depth, and meaning in creative expression. Bohm suggested that even social conflict is explicate expression of implicate patterns. What appears as sudden unrest or division often unfolds from deep historical currents, unspoken fears and shared beliefs enfolded in the collective psyche. To heal conflict, one cannot treat only the surface symptoms. One must trace back into the implicate structures that generate them. Lasting change requires perceiving the hidden order from which visible chaos emerges. Quantum physics provided Bohm with support for his vision. Particles in quantum experiments behave not as isolated entities, but as expressions of an invisible field of wholeness. What looks random or fragmented at the explicate level reveals itself as patterned coherence when traced back to the implicate dimension. Quantum reality is unity, disguised as fragments, order hidden within apparent chance. For Bohm, the implicate order was not a mystical speculation, but a necessary principle for understanding reality. Fragmented thinking and purely explicate science distort the truth. By seeing the implicate, humans gain a worldview rooted in connection rather than separation. This insight does not negate reason, but completes it. Wholeness becomes both a scientific principle and a spiritual necessity. Ultimately, Bohm emphasized that the explicate and implicate orders are not two separate realities, but two aspects of the same reality. The visible and the hidden are intertwined like light and shadow in a painting. To perceive both is to glimpse existence in its fullness. Reality is not divided. Division exists only in thought, while wholeness is the true foundation of being. Human biology is not a passive machine, but a living reflection of inner states. Emotions such as fear, joy, or despair are not only mental experiences, they alter the body's chemistry in measurable ways. The nervous system, immune system, and hormonal balance shift with each feeling. Bohm's view suggests that thought itself is a biological force. Life, at every level, carries the imprint of the mind that perceives it. To ignore this connection is to misunderstand the essence of human existence. Chronic stress demonstrates this power vividly. When worry dominates, the body produces cortisol in excess, weakening the immune system and accelerating cellular aging. Muscles tighten, digestion falters, and the heart bears constant strain. What begins in thought unfolds in the body as slow erosion. The storm of stress writes its signature in every cell it touches. Over time, this invisible weight becomes visible in illness and exhaustion. By contrast, emotions such as gratitude and joy release endorphins, oxytocin and dopamine, chemicals that restore equilibrium and even support healing. The body thrives when thought is aligned with positive emotion, unlocking natural resilience. Gratitude is not just virtue, but biology in harmony. In this sense, joy and kindness become literal medicine carried in the bloodstream. The chemistry of happiness is a silent guardian of health. Deepak Chopra described emotion as chemistry in motion. Though Bohm's language was different, the implication is similar. The mind is inseparable from the molecules of life. Thought moves as energy, and emotion becomes its biochemical expression. To think is to shape matter from within. Every heartbeat, every breath reflects this subtle dance between idea and physiology. In this dance, consciousness and biology reveal their shared rhythm. Epigenetics now confirms that mental states can switch genes on or off, influencing which potentials become active. Depression, for example, correlates with suppressed immune genes, while optimism enhances cellular defense. Biology listens to thought and obeys its emotional tone. Our genetic destiny, once thought fixed, is revealed to be sensitive to the vibrations of mind. The script of life is edited daily by emotion and perception. Consider the example of prolonged sadness. Over time, neurotransmitters misfire, immunity drops, and the body becomes prone to illness. The emotion is not confined to the mind, but spreads like an internal toxin. Unresolved negativity becomes written into tissues themselves. What is felt in silence eventually finds a voice in disease. Sorrow, when unhealed, becomes the body's unspoken language. The opposite is also true. Resilience and optimism strengthen biology. People who nurture hope often recover faster, resist infection, and sustain higher energy. Their bodies echo the music of their thoughts. Positive emotion functions as a nutrient for cellular life. The inner posture of the heart can determine the strength of the body. Hope itself becomes a physiological shield against decay. Negative emotions can be understood as inner pollutants. Anger floods the bloodstream with adrenaline, narrowing vessels and straining the heart. Anxiety clouds neural pathways, impairing memory and focus. These invisible storms leave scars upon the body. They linger long after the feeling fades, marking flesh with the history of thought. Every surge of rage or fear writes a biochemical scar into our being. Positive emotions, on the other hand, act like internal medicine. Laughter reduces stress hormones, gratitude stabilizes heart rhythms, and love generates biochemical states that foster growth. What medicine achieves from outside, thought can kindle from within. Healing begins in the mind, spreading outward to every cell that listens. The body, in turn, becomes the canvas upon which joy leaves its signature. This is not mere metaphor, but measurable science. Brain scans reveal neural networks shifting with sustained emotion, while blood tests register the corresponding hormonal tides. The laboratory confirms what wisdom has long intuited: mind and body are one. Evidence now bridges ancient insight with modern biology. What was once philosophy now stands illuminated by data and proof. Still, modern culture often ignores this integration. People treat health as a purely physical project, diets, pills, and routines, while neglecting the inner climate of thought and feeling. Without addressing emotion, no healing can be complete. The invisible architecture of health begins within the unseen corridors of the mind. To treat the body without the mind is to build on broken foundations. In Bohm's language, thought and biology are not two systems, but one process unfolding in different expressions. Every idea, every mood ripples into the body, shaping its chemistry, altering its destiny. To heal thought is to heal life itself. Wholeness here is not poetic, it is a biological imperative. The unity of mind and matter is the forgotten medicine of humanity. Bohm rejected the traditional division between mind and matter. To him, thought was not an immaterial ghost, and matter was not lifeless substance. Both were currents in the same river of process. The distinction is created by language, not by reality itself. Mind and matter are two faces of one unfolding order. They move together seamlessly, like shadow and light, each giving meaning to the other within the wholeness of existence. Matter is not passive. It responds and adapts. Atoms dance to hidden patterns, cells follow instructions, and the body reshapes itself with every signal. The mind, in turn, is not detached. It is embodied, carried by matter's currents. Each breath reveals how thought and matter interpenetrate. To see them separately is like trying to cut air from the wind. It is a division imposed by thought, not a truth of nature. Bohm saw thought as a material process. Neurons fire, synapses transmit, hormones flow, yet within this, meanings arise that cannot be reduced to chemistry. The immaterial emerges through the material, as music emerges through vibrating strings. Mind is matter's hidden song. The melody is not in the string alone, nor in the player, but in the process that unites them into sound. Matter itself carries traces of mind. Memory is stored in neural tissue. Emotion floods through the bloodstream. Intention reshapes the body's posture. Every thought leaves a biological fingerprint. The body is the canvas where the mind paints its presence. To ignore this is to miss that every cell tells a story, carrying echoes of inner dialogue made physical. In Bohm's vision, mind and matter are inseparable movements of the implicate order. When thought changes, matter shifts. When matter shifts, thought is altered. This dialogue never stops, flowing like breath between inner and outer. To divide them is to misperceive wholeness. The illusion of separation blinds us to the dynamic unity already present in every moment of life. Physics suggests that matter itself may hold proto-conscious qualities. The quantum field does not behave as inert machinery, but as a dynamic web responsive to observation. Bohm saw this not as magic, but as evidence of subtle continuity. Matter listens, and mind responds in return. This reciprocity suggests that consciousness and cosmos are woven into the same living tapestry. In daily life, the unity of mind and matter is obvious. Fear quickens the heartbeat, joy loosens the muscles, hope lifts the body upright. Every gesture is a dialogue. The mind whispers and the body answers. What we feel is written into the language of flesh. Each posture, each breath is a testimony of thought embodied, carried visibly in matter's form. Meditation reveals this more deeply. When the mind quiets, breathing slows, cells relax, and the body reorients itself to balance. This is not imagination, but physiology and harmony. Inner silence becomes outer healing, a single process unfolding. The stillness of awareness penetrates tissue, teaching the body how to return to its natural rhythm. Art also demonstrates the fusion. A painter translates inner vision into brush strokes. A musician turns emotion into vibration. A dancer embodies thought in movement. Matter is not a barrier, but a medium through which mind becomes visible. Every creation is the marriage of thought and substance. Without matter, ideas remain unspoken. Without mind, matter remains inert and blind. Even society reflects the union of mind and matter. Ideas crystallize into architecture, laws, and machines. The invisible becomes visible. Thought becomes steel, cities, and technology. Civilization itself is matter shaped by mind's currents. Our streets and monuments are thoughts frozen in stone, reminders that imagination materializes in the world around us. Bohm insisted that the unity of mind and matter is not mystical but natural. Division is a construct of fragmented thought. Reality itself never splits. It only appears divided when observed through categories. To perceive wholeness is to return to what has always been. The truth lies not in creating unity, but in uncovering the unity that thought obscures. Ultimately, mind and matter are not two things but one process, enfolding and unfolding in endless dialogue. The implicate order breathes them together, inner and outer, thought and form, consciousness and cosmos. To live this truth is to embody the wholeness of existence. It is to recognize oneself as the meeting place where matter thinks and mind takes form. Bohm believed that true dialogue is not debate, where sides clash and one prevails, but a shared space where meaning flows between participants. In such dialogue, no one holds the final word, for each voice is part of a larger whole. Speech becomes a bridge across division, not a weapon of separation. Through dialogue, people discover that meaning itself grows, not from winning but from listening. The collective mind awakens when conversation becomes cooperation rather than conquest. Ordinary conversation often fragments. People defend positions, interrupt, or wait only to reply. Bohm's dialogue seeks the opposite. It slows the pace, honors silence, and allows thought itself to be observed. Through this stillness, hidden assumptions rise into awareness and begin to dissolve. The very act of slowing reveals the machinery of thought that usually runs unseen beneath words. Here, speech becomes reflective, a mirror held up to the process of thinking itself. Dialogue reveals that thought is not purely individual, but collective. Each person carries cultural patterns, beliefs, and fears that echo in others. When these are spoken and shared, they no longer imprison us privately. The group becomes a mirror reflecting the whole mind of society. In this mirror, what once seemed personal emerges as a shared inheritance shaping us all. Collective dialogue thus transforms isolation into recognition and common ground. Wholeness emerges when dialogue suspends judgment. To suspend is not to suppress, but to hold one's opinions lightly, like objects hanging in air. This creates space for other perspectives to enter without resistance. In this suspension, truth appears as a shared horizon. What was rigid becomes fluid, and in that fluidity, understanding can take form. It is in this shared openness that real insight quietly takes root. Bohm described dialogue as a stream of meaning flowing among people. Like water, it nourishes, cleanses, and carries seeds of renewal. The aim is not agreement but understanding, a recognition of shared humanity beneath differences. Dialogue is the riverbed where wholeness may flow. When meaning circulates freely, each participant drinks from the same living current. Through such flow, society remembers that truth is never owned, only shared. In authentic dialogue, silence is as important as speech. Silence allows thought to settle, emotions to soften, and meaning to deepen. Out of silence, words arise not as reactions, but as contributions. The pauses are the womb of new understanding. In this quiet space, language regains its power to reveal rather than conceal. Silence becomes the hidden architect shaping every authentic exchange. Dialogue transforms conflict by shifting attention from positions to assumptions. Instead of fighting over conclusions, participants explore the roots of thought itself. This reveals that division is often born not from truth, but from unexamined patterns. Exposing the roots dissolves the branches of conflict. To see assumptions together is already to begin freeing oneself from their grip. Dialogue thus turns confrontation into inquiry, a doorway to mutual release. For Bohm, dialogue was not only psychological, but also spiritual. It echoed the implicate order itself, where each part enfolds the whole. In dialogue, every voice contains traces of humanity, and every listener touches the cosmos through another's words. To listen deeply is to participate in wholeness. Listening becomes a sacred act, an entrance into the greater life we already share. Such listening transforms conversation into communion with existence itself. Groups that practice dialogue can evolve beyond fragmentation. Communities learn to think together, to hold multiple views without collapse, to generate insights no single person could reach alone. In such spaces, society glimpses its hidden potential for coherence. The group mind becomes more than the sum of its parts, a seed of cultural transformation. This collective intelligence is the embryo of a new civilization. Dialogue also reshapes identity. In speaking and listening, the rigid boundaries of I and you begin to blur. One discovers that self is not isolated but woven through the thoughts of others. The dialogue speaks us as much as we speak it. Identity becomes relational, expanding into the web of shared meaning. In this expansion, selfhood matures into participation in wholeness. Bohm contrasted dialogue with discussion, whose root means to break apart. Dialogue, by contrast, means through meaning. This shift of purpose changes everything, from fragmentation toward coherence, from competition toward communion. Dialogue is language remembering its original purpose. When words cease to wound, they begin to weave. Conversation becomes creation, stitching fragments back into living unity. Ultimately, dialogue is a path toward wholeness. It cannot be forced nor reduced to technique. It requires openness, humility, and trust. Yet when it occurs, participants glimpse reality beyond the fragments of thought. In dialogue, the wholeness of life speaks through us all. Through it, we rediscover that humanity itself is one vast conversation unfolding across time. To enter dialogue is to step into the stream of meaning that unites us all. Bohm believed that humanity stands at a threshold. The old worldview, built on fragmentation, competition, and mechanistic reduction, has led to conflict and ecological crisis. Yet within this very crisis lies possibility, the chance to see wholeness. A new worldview must replace division with coherence, or the future will repeat the errors of the past. Science, long focused on dissection, must now learn integration. Bohm envisioned a science that does not reduce the whole to parts, but perceives the hidden order connecting them. When physics, biology, and psychology meet in dialogue, knowledge becomes a bridge rather than a wall. Education, too, requires transformation. Instead of training individuals to compete, it must prepare them to think together, to listen as deeply as they speak. A new worldview will teach not only skills, but also coherence, cultivating minds attuned to wholeness. Technology has amplified fragmentation, but can also serve wholeness. Networks that spread division can also connect people in shared meaning. The tools of tomorrow will either deepen alienation or awaken a sense of planetary unity. Ecology is central to this shift. Humanity must cease to see nature as resource and begin to perceive it as partner. In the new worldview, the Earth is not a warehouse, but a living system enfolding and unfolding with us. Dialogue becomes essential on a global scale. Nations cannot survive through isolation or domination. Only through shared meaning can collective crises be resolved. A new worldview requires humanity to think together as one mind, learning from itself. This worldview dissolves the rigid barrier between science and spirit. What religion once intuited and science now measures can converge in recognition of wholeness. Neither faith nor reason alone suffices. Together, they reveal coherence beneath chaos. In this vision, identity expands beyond tribe or nation. Humanity begins to see itself as one species woven into the same cosmic fabric. The new worldview calls for loyalty to wholeness itself, not to the fragments of race, creed, or border. Creativity flourishes in such coherence. Freed from competition and fear, the human spirit discovers new art, new science, new ways of living. The future of culture is not endless novelty, but deeper resonance with the whole. This shift is not optional but necessary. Fragmented thought has produced weapons of annihilation and ecological destruction. Only a new worldview rooted in wholeness can prevent humanity from collapsing under its own illusions. Bohm's vision was both practical and profound. He did not promise utopia, but a path. To see thought as process, to practice dialogue, to live in coherence. The new worldview is not distant. It begins wherever wholeness is remembered. Ultimately, to move toward a new worldview is to rediscover what was always present. Reality as undivided, life as one process, mind and matter flowing together. To embrace this vision is to awaken humanity's deepest possibility, to live as wholeness embodied. Bohm's vision reminds us that fragmentation is not the essence of reality, but a habit of thought. The divisions we defend between mind and matter, science and spirit, self and other, are only shadows cast by language. Beneath them lies the implicate order, a deeper wholeness always present, waiting to be remembered. To glimpse this unity is to awaken from the dream of separation. Wholeness is not an abstract theory, but a living experience. It is revealed in dialogue, in creativity, in the silence that binds us more deeply than words. Every heartbeat and every gesture testify that mind and matter move together as one. To live this truth is to embody coherence in daily life. The crisis of our time, ecological, political, spiritual, is rooted in fragmented thinking. Yet within crisis lies opportunity to choose coherence, to act not from division, but from shared meaning. Bohm believed humanity could think together, not as competing fragments, but as a living mind discovering itself. This possibility is our path forward. Ultimately, the implicate order is not elsewhere but here. It breathes through every atom, every conversation, every act of awareness. The future of humanity depends on remembering this truth, that life is one unfolding process, indivisible and whole. To see wholeness is to live as wholeness, and in that vision, a new world begins. If this journey into wholeness has touched you, share it with those who seek a deeper vision of reality. And to keep exploring the hidden order of existence, subscribe now, activate the bell, and leave a like. Your presence helps this dialogue continue beyond the screen.